destination where laughter's the key. Nat Chat's the podcast, join the revelry. Taking the Mickey with positive spin. Country folks unite, let the Nat Chat begin. Nat Chat where the laughter's free. Spinning tales about politics with positivity.
And we do try to keep it positive on Nat Chat. But this week we are going to chat to a couple of candidates who have put their hand up very courageously for Mildura Rural City Council election. So we're now in caretaker mode. Nominations have closed. And I have Katie Clements and I have Carli Leishmann in the Makeshift studio. How are you both?
Good, thank you.
Great to be here.
Look, it's so great to have you two put your hands up and also to have a final nomination list. Carli, let's start with you first. Now, I met with you a couple of weeks ago at the Merbeen Community Hub, the library, to talk about a few things that are going on at Merbeen. Tell us what you'd already nominated before then. This has been on you'd come out ages ago.
Yeah, I did. I came out quite early. I felt like I sort of had to in a way because I don't have I guess that really long lineage of a real Mallee family name like so many others. I moved here relatively recently in the last 5 years. So I've been, doing as much campaigning and community engagement and getting out there as I can.
Do you think that really matters to voters though? To some, yes, but you've been really active in your community.
Yeah, I feel like that's what helped me make Merbeen my home in many ways. I was for a while there tossing up about whether I would stay or not, and then I got involved in Merbeen development and I really felt like, okay, now I'm part of something. I'm part of this community and I'm invested and I want to see Merbeen become the best town that it can possibly be. So I've got to stick around to try and make it happen.
So where did you come from and why did you think about not sticking around?
I came from Melbourne. I moved here initially for a job and then realised that I could probably buy a house here a lot quicker than if I had ever stayed in Melbourne. And then I guess from there everything started to fall in place. But, of course, there are challenges about living in a regional area and one of the big ones is health and trying to attract the right health services and the right health professionals to the region. And there was a time there where I thought, I'm not sure if this is somewhere where I can stay long term. But once you do start to put roots down and you do start to get involved in the community, then I just thought, okay, well, maybe I have to be part of the change.
Mm-hmm. And this is the thing, isn't it? If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem.
Totally.
Yeah. So over the last 5 years, is there now partner? Is there kids? Is there did you buy a house?
Yeah, so I did buy a house and my partner lives here and I attracted my brother up from Melbourne as well.
Oh,
and
not a doctor, is he?
No, but he does work in disability support and, much needed area for sure. He's my neighbour, which is so cool. I never imagined that I'd be in a situation where my brother would buy the house next door, but he did. And it's fantastic.
And you love it.
I absolutely love it. Always knocking on the door because I need something or he's knocking on my door because he's run out of soy sauce.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I need some brown sugar.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's great.
Oh, that's great. Well, fantastic news. Now, Katie Clements, you are a name that won't be unfamiliar to ballot papers.
That's right.
You've run a few times, haven't you?
I have run a couple of times, yeah. So I ran in the last state election, which was an amazing experience. And then I ran also for the previous Mildura Rural City Council election as well. So
yeah, and there were a lot of nominations. That was unsubdivided then, right?
It was unsubdivided then. So there was 18 candidates then. So I only just missed out.
You only just missed out too.
Yeah.
So what ward are you nominated in this time?
This time it's Citygate. So Citygate is between Deakin and Benetook.
Yes.
14th and 16th.
I have a hard time keeping up with wards. I'm not First of all, let me ask you both, how do you feel about the ward system? Katie, you've run a few times.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this system compared to running before?
It's very different. It's kind of strange because we really don't know what to expect. So I guess that there's that. So I mean, with the last election, council election I ran for, I came out 6 months before the election itself, and we only knew of a handful, probably more than 10. But then at the end of nominations, lots more people came out. So you're kind of competing for one seat, one of the 9 seats, whereas this time you're competing against the people in your own ward. So, yeah.
Which brings me to Carli, and same thing. You came out, like I said, months ago, and that's up until last week. I thought you'd be almost uncontested. Turns out
there's a few other passionate people out there who have, done an 11th hour nomination, and that's okay. That's the way it goes.
Well, I mean, it's not a bad thing if people are actually wanting to get on. And this is the thing that I have a hard time with, and this is the thing that I struggle with our preferential voting system, right? If you want to get on and you want to do good, and like I've said before, when I talk to you guys, I feel like you actually want to get on there and you want to be able to do the job. You want to show up and do the right thing. When people are nominating for preference flows in any election, that's dangerous. It creates, and this is how in the other tiers of government you end up with a volatile crossbench that hold far too much power in their house. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about council. Don't let me get sidetracked. So up against you at the moment, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, potentially 6, because there will be a couple of late ones. So there's potentially 6, including current councillor Ian Arney.
Yes, that's right.
Now there was a post go out, and to be fair, I don't pay much attention to particularly Facebook because I think it can be quite damaging in a lot of ways. Yeah. People can get on there and say whatever they want to say, and there's no repercussions. But there was someone had pointed out that some current councillors are running against females. How do you both feel about being female candidates how many? I'm just trying to find your ward, Katie. So how do you feel about that issue, being females running against?
Yeah, I found the last time I ran, it was a lot more volatile.
Was it?
Yeah, it was a lot. I had people threatening to kill me on social media. I had my corflutes being targeted. One person hit my corflute in his car deliberately. So these kind of things.
What had you done?
Yeah, well, I ran
as a candidate.
As a candidate under a political party. So I guess that political party is not very popular. But you
nearly got onto council. Having said that, you were a Greens candidate.
I was.
And you only just missed out.
Exactly.
And there are a couple of Greens candidates on Swan Hill. Right. I don't know if they're officially Greens candidates, but
yeah, so so last time it was a lot worse for me, I found. But this time around, probably because I've grown a bit of a thicker skin too. I mean, last couple of campaigns I've done, you do have to grow a bit of a thicker skin. Having said that, there is no excuse for violence or threats or anyone against anyone. Like it's just revolting. So I also found last time, I think this time as well, is that there's a lot more women candidates now, but let's wait till the end of close of nominations officially, and we'll see how many more blokes kind of put their hand up.
Yeah.
That happened last time.
Yeah. I think it's really changed for females in politics and in everything, really. I think the glass ceiling is really being – I mean, we're the Nats and we've got more women in the party room now than we have men. So, Carli, how do you feel about – I mean, does it affect you? Is it something you think about?
I think it was one of the reasons I wanted to run to begin with was because I wanted to see the community better reflected on our council. Yep. And, the current council does only have 2 women on it. Granted, they're 2 fabulous women, but I did think that the council needs to reflect what the community looks like, and the community is made up of, at least 50% women.
Yes.
So I would have thought it would be great to see some more women on council. And again, sometimes you sort of just have to be that person that's going to put their hand up and give it a go.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? If you're not part of the problem, you're part of the solution. And if you're whinging about something, put your hand up and do something about it.
Exactly.
So well done to both of you. We've spoken about the why, but let's talk about the process and how you anticipate, because neither of you have sat on council before. Do you have expectations of what the job will be like, of how you're going to execute this, because you're both working.
Yes.
You're a teacher.
I work in research. I work for Diabetes Victoria in the prevention space for preventing type 2 diabetes. So, yes,
Which is,
very busy.
but it's a very noble profession, isn't it? I've got a stepson that's type 1 diabetic. So anyone that works in diabetes research, I mean, you're an angel doing God's work, really.
Don't flatter me.
Well, I know, but diabetes is one of those chronic diseases that's just getting worse. We had Diabetes Victoria in Parliament last week, and some of the stats that they were telling us were frightening.
Absolutely, especially for type 2 diabetes. And here in Mildura, we are above the state average for type 2 diabetes, heart disease and stroke, which are all chronic conditions, and they can all be prevented, and lifestyle does absolutely play a part. But so does having access to preventative medicine and preventative healthcare. And it's something I'm really passionate about. And, again, something that has sort of spurred me into this political sphere, really, has been about trying to improve the outcomes for the community. And even though health is not overly a major part of council does have the community and wellbeing plan, and healthy eating and physical activity are all huge parts of that plan. And so being able to help drive some of those initiatives is something I'm really passionate about.
So what are your expectations for the role? Do you have any expectations?
I think I've come into this knowing that at least the first year or so is going to be a really big learning curve. You just have to kind of be a sponge, take it all in and learn as much as possible about the inner workings of the absolute machine that is council. But, certainly people have sort of said to me, is it worth even going on council? Are you even going to be able to make the change? There's this perception that perhaps a lot of the decision-making is happening at that executive staffing level and perhaps not at the elected councillors level. I mean, that's certainly something that I would like to see shift a little bit.
If in fact it's even true. Because, people can talk about all of this stuff.
And I think there's also, if that's the perception, then what are we doing to change that perception?
Exactly.
What are we doing to educate the community that that's not actually how it is?
Yeah.
Well, and this takes, councillors that during public council meetings you ask questions and you challenge, whether it's challenging recommendations or, things like that. Katie, what are your expectations? Because let's be honest, you're up against one other candidate at this stage.
Yeah, at this stage, yeah.
So your chances are looking good. I mean, it's 50-50 at the minute.
That's right. That's right.
Which is amazing odds.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited. I'm really keen. I'm a bit the same. I want to learn how it all works. Having said that, though, I'm really looking forward to working with all the other councillors, whoever they may be, whatever sort of political persuasion they may be. Looking forward to working with the other councillors to really get stuff done. So I'm very much a doing person. I'm very much a let's look at an issue, let's find out the barriers, let's work to overcome them, let's do stuff. I'm very much a doing person. Like Carli said about the public perception about what is even council doing sort of thing, sort of having more of that transparency. Well, actually, and things that you learn while you're doing the candidate education online modules, council does so much that people don't even know about, that people should know about, and then they might understand, I mean, rates is obviously a huge issue, and it is a massive issue because the size of our rural city council is massive compared to some of those smaller Melbourne suburbs that, are tiny. And we've got all this infrastructure and all these public works that we have to support in local council, the pools, the libraries, the maternal health and, all that sort of stuff. So we've got to find a way to make that dollar stretch. I mean, people have to do that in their homes every day these days. Let's face it, cost of living.
Yeah.
So I'd love to be able to know, if we do get to know, how that spending is done and how we can really rationalise it to make sure that we're aiming for the goals of making a really vibrant, supportive community. Because like Carli was saying about, the community, and I moved here just over 20 years ago, and hubby and I have toyed with the idea of moving to Ballarat or Bendigo or, even Adelaide, but we just haven't because
Mildura's better.
I mean, it's awesome.
Exactly.
And it's affordable.
I don't want to move to Bendigo from here, honestly.
We like going to the footy and the cricket, but we can do that in Adelaide, and one of our daughters lives there now, and so we.
Hang on, what? Have you got a daughter that's old enough to live out of home?
Oh yeah, I've got two. I've got two adult daughters.
Have you?
I have.
Stop it.
Yeah. So
you?
Yeah. So Maddie's nearly 26.
I'm so bad at.
And Julie's 22.
26.
Yes.
You have
my
not.
age.
Have you really?
Yeah. So she lives 2 doors down from me actually. So we do the whole soy sauce thing as well. So
love it.
Yeah.
Have you? I am quite taken aback.
So yeah, Maddie's 26, and she's an ES staff member. She's education support at Chafee Secondary College. She loves it.
Wait, is she one of the dance teachers? She's not one of the dance teachers.
No, she does the Quick Smart program. So she tutors kids in literacy and numeracy.
Wow.
Yeah, and then Julia went to Adelaide to do uni degree, and she's a personal trainer living over there and living her best life in Adelaide, and she's done some modelling and stuff over there. And more recently, we've actually got Toa living with us. He's moved up from Haywood as a family member that we've so we're back to having a primary school student again after being empty nesters, and so we're loving life at the moment. And plus we haven't had, obviously we've had 2 girls, so we're raising a little boy now. Well, he's not so little, he's grade 6, but
wow,
yeah. So
boys are very different to girls.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, harder to keep alive, but way more fun. In my opinion, I'm a boy mum, so wow.
Yeah,
wow.
So really community, and plus we've, over the years we've had, issues with accessing certain health services, and youth mental health is something that I'm really hyper passionate about. Being an educator in this town and a community member, we want to make sure, these kids are thriving and going on to, wonderful things and have happy, healthy lives.
Yeah, I too, for obvious reasons, and Carli, you might not know about this, Katie, you might not even know about this, but mental health has been a huge point of advocacy for my family. My husband he did a fundraiser during COVID to establish a walk-in clinic with no referrals, no Medicare. It was just a free walk-in clinic in Robinvale.
Awesome.
Because of his struggles, and he's been very public with his struggles with mental health, and, it's up and down, and now he's an advocate for Are You OK Day, and, yeah, he does amazing things, but things like the Sunraysia Lifeline project, like Lifeline Loddon Mallee. So when I do things like the push-up challenge or the Out of the Shadows walk, that stuff, people might say it doesn't count or it's dumb. That stuff matters, not just to me, but I'm sure to many of your students, to thousands of families, particularly those that have worked really hard to get that call centre here. That stuff it does matter, and to call it dumb. But anyway, so you're right, both of you, and having been there and done that. And I say to anyone, if you are brave enough, because it does take such courage to do these sorts of public jobs, and you have to have a turtle shell more than a thick skin. Because I get those messages, and it's not, it's just not okay to get death threats, or every week I will get someone on a photo commenting about how am I transitioning, or you look like a man, whatever, and that's water off a duck's back. But this is the kind of, it is now, but years ago, that kind of stuff when you first start out it shouldn't be part of the job.
No.
But unfortunately it is.
Well, and that's a comment that was years ago when my core flute was hit. And apparently someone from somewhere has said and gotten back to me, oh, well, she just has to accept that's part of the job. You know what? No, I don't. And no, it's not. And it shouldn't be happening. And people need to be prosecuted for this sort of stuff.
No, in no other workplace is that acceptable.
No. And people will also say, oh, well, you get paid and you get paid well. You know what? The amount of
Councillors
and also
get paid well, do they?
no, councillors certainly
That's news to me.
and this is do you think and let's talk about that for a minute because the council allowance is petty.
It's not very much.
No, like while I was on council, I was running my own business. It cost me about 10 to 15 grand a year to sit on council. I'm still paying on the tax bill. But you don't make any money. You don't do it for the money.
Absolutely.
No, I don't think so either. And like we said before, like we're both working still, and I've got no plans to give up my teaching job that I absolutely love because also there's a teacher shortage.
Yeah, I was going to say, please don't.
So I'll be working full time and balancing my council duties, but it was a couple of years ago, someone said to me, oh, well, how are you going to manage, your family and your job as well as council? And I'm thinking, I've not heard anyone ask that of a male councillor candidate. No, either they don't care, which is a bit of an issue because, blokes have got a lot to do as well, or it wasn't really a factor for a man, but currently it is for me.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's it. And I get the same thing all the time. How do you do it all? I don't.
No.
I don't do it all. I've got a husband who is incredible.
Yeah.
And he does all the cooking and so it's just that, we say, yes, the glass ceiling's being smashed, but on some levels, geez, we've got a long way to go, haven't we?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So how are you going to manage things, Carli, with your job and
Yeah, well, I am in a sort of lucky position where I can go to part-time. So that is going to make an enormous difference because I knew when I entered this race to become a councillor that if I was going to do this, I was not going to be a councillor that just showed up for the meeting once a month and that was it.
Yeah.
I was going to be giving it my all.
Yeah.
And even though, yes, as we've just said, we're not exactly, paid very well to do that. But when you become a councillor, I think you really do have to dedicate yourself to it. And from what I've read in surveys about how many hours councillors are putting into this job, on average it's somewhere around 21 hours a week. So it's a massive undertaking. And I think if you're going to do it, you need to do it right. And that means being out there in the community.
Absolutely. Very well said. And it is one of those things that, yes, it's a civic service, if you like, but you only get out of it what you put into it.
Yeah.
And I think that's true with any job in public service like this. So, you might say it's 21 hours. Well, there might be issues that pop up that you may have inherited. You don't know really until you get in there.
Yeah.
That may take up a huge chunk of your time. But then there might be times, during January that are relatively quiet, unless there's floods, of course. These are things that you just don't know.
Yeah.
And up here, because we are quite unique in our geography and our industry and things like that, if there is a varroa mite outbreak during pollination or there's been frost the last 2 nights, it's one of those things that when you become councillors or you become public figures, people will reach out to you for help and there might not be anything you can do.
Yeah.
But it will be time consuming because you're both caring people and you want to help.
Absolutely.
So there's another thing that that was one of the things I didn't expect is that people will just want your ears sometimes and that's okay.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a very, very interesting race. The ballot papers, I think, are distributed early next week. Is that right?
Yeah, maybe, or the week after. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, because it's caretaker mode now.
Yes. Yep.
Which is all. Geez, the next month's going to be interesting. So tell me about how you guys are going to campaign, because with the current councillors, even those that may have previously said, no, I'm not going to go around again. They're going around again.
They are. Changed their minds.
So they have the gift of incumbency. And even though in Henderson Park, that is a very, very interesting ward.
Yeah.
You've got Councillor Healy and the mayor running against one another.
Yeah. Yes.
That is going to be very interesting to see how that plays out.
Absolutely.
How are you guys going to – and there's no new candidate in that race. So that could potentially be where people's focus is. How are you guys going to go? And Carli, you're running against 6 others at this stage.
I know. Well, I am just going to be out there in the community, going door to door, talking to as many people as I can, and just listening to what they actually expect of a councillor. What are the issues that's important to them? What do they want to see on council? My sort of approach is going to be being as positive as I can. I think people are really sick to death of, awful politics and nasty politics. I think that's why people are so just disenfranchised with the whole thing. So my whole approach is bringing some positivity back, just focusing on the issues and the hard work and listening to the community and I guess trying to advocate as much as I can.
2 ears, 1 mouth, use them in that order.
That's it.
Excellent. Katie, what about you?
I've been doing a few things around the place. So I've set up a Facebook group called Citygate Community Group.
Yep.
So it's like an online, well, obviously it's a Facebook group, but it's for people to join who live in our area or who work in our area, because Citygate actually encompasses like Centro and Bunnings and, some major retail outlets. So people who live and work in Citygate can sort of jump on this Facebook group and can talk about some things that might need changing, or can announce like, a barbecue or a a garage sale or whatever. So like a little version of the Mildura community groups we've got at the moment. Yeah. So just to foster a bit of that ward kind of community feel.
Yeah.
Because these wards, whether we want them to or not, are probably not going to go away. So knowing that they are in a ward and that there is, while obviously all the councillors look after the whole municipality, there is a councillor for your ward.
Yeah.
So if there's something happening that you don't like in your ward, go and see that councillor.
Yeah.
Which is what I think is a positive thing about the ward system. And I think it does help the communities out, like with Mildura out there, that you don't have to live in the ward that you are running in, but if you're living in that ward, then you are inherently,
you've got your ear to the ground.
Exactly, and you're living the experiences of the people that live out there too. So, that's a benefit of it. So, I've set up a little Facebook group, and I'm going to do a couple of meet and greets and just in a park to say, hey, I'm going to
give us a plug. When and where? Have you got all those?
I've got to have something at Simmons Park, which is in Citygate, just to have people to come and see me, and if they want to say hi. And these are my ideas, because that's one thing I'd love to do, is to bring the ideas of the people to council.
Yeah.
Because that's some feedback I think I've seen on social media about, council doesn't listen. There's obviously reasons why that perception is there. So maybe having some more ideas from community and trying to share them would be a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, and it's interesting to find out when people say council doesn't listen. Well, and my question then is, and I hate answering a question with a question, but to get to the crux of what the problem is, well, did you approach council with the problem and a solution, or did you just come to them with the problem? Because chances are councillors know that there's an issue with whatever it might be. What they love, and what everyone loves, I would assume everyone that's doing this job would love a solution. Yeah. And not all solutions might be viable, but every now and then you get a gold nugget. Yeah. And I had one this morning, and I just love when people go, right, this is the problem, this is a problem. What about this? Oh, actually, that's got legs. Yeah. So that's what I like to ask on these meet and greets, or whenever you're doing the, mobile offices or whatever. Yeah. Great. What can we do? Like, what do you want? Yeah. How can we fix this? Yeah. And you'll be surprised at how many people have such great ideas.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think the answers exist in the community already. Yeah. I think the community has the answers. They have those community resources within them, and we just have to tap in.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not rocket science. I always say this. It's not rocket science. It's a bit of common sense.
Yeah.
Trying to bring common sense back.
And real solutions-based thinking. It might be, certain situations where councillors in the past have said, we've tried that didn't work. Yeah, you might have tried that 25 years ago. It might work today. You know what I mean? Like, we need to actually open our minds to these ideas. And instead of going, well, no, there's X, Y, and Z we have to overcome, Well, how do we do that? Well, with X you have to do this, with Y you do that, and Z you do that. Let's do that. Let's absolutely do that, because otherwise we'll never get anywhere.
Exactly. Jump to yes first and then figure out how to do it. Yeah.
Like, why not?
Yeah.
Why? Why not?
Why not? Yeah. And there's a lot to be said when you have a council, a group of councillors with that kind of culture and that set out, because in the first, 6 months you've got to do your strategy and your community plans and all that kind of stuff. When the culture is set by the councillors that we are open for business, you'll be surprised at what happens. It's almost magical. And we did it, upstream, and now there's not a vacant shop in the main street.
That's amazing.
Like, it's amazing when I don't count, Katie's, huh?
Yeah. I worked in Robinvale for 18 months.
Yeah. Well, Robinvale, there's still a few issues, but it's when you get, and again, the development associations, you get really good development associations, but that culture is set by council. Council is at the top of the tier. So when you get a council that are all like-minded saying, right, we want to get things done. Yes, we know this is hard. Yes, we know it's harder than New South Wales, but what can we do to pull some levers to be open for business and do that if that's the view of council? And that's the other thing. Let me ask you guys how this sits with you. So you'll have 9 councillors. There will be differing opinions and there will be robust discussions.
Yeah, I would think so.
You would hope so.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. You will come to a position, council will come to a council position that you might not agree with, whether it be something that is council remit, something that isn't council remit, but they really should have a position on.
Yeah.
How are you guys going to deal with that? Is this something that you've thought on?
I've thought a little bit on it, and I think it is about, as long as council is taking an evidence-based approach, okay, we're reviewing all of the evidence and we're making the best decision we can for the greatest number of people with the information we have, then I think I can get on board with that, as long as the decision-making is evidence-based.
Oh, you're a scientist.
And I was just thinking, as you were saying that, absolutely, and that appropriate consultation has occurred. So
Agreed.
consultation is very important, and the worst thing is not no consultation. The worst thing is false consultation. That is the worst.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure that all the appropriate people have been
Absolutely,
consulted.
because you have to bring people along the journey, and you can do that a lot easier if you actually sit down and you take the time to listen to them and listen to their position. You can 9 times out of 10 bring them along the journey.
I think so. It's all about being able to work with everyone, really, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And relationships.
Yep.
And you have to do that regardless of, we'd hope rural councils are apolitical.
Yep.
I think you have to be to it.
I think it's imperative that they are.
Yeah. I think it's dangerous when activism and politics gets involved, because it's not great for anybody. And at the end of the day, if you're doing these jobs for the good of the community, then put it to one side and put the people first.
Getting community outcomes, to me, just has absolutely nothing to do with politics, really. I just see them as just 2 completely separate things.
Yeah.
And, all I want is the opportunity to work alongside a great team of councillors and get things done and get the right outcomes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so exciting.
It is.
It is very exciting. I'm excited for you both. Congratulations, both of you. It's going to be a nervous wait.
It is.
A very nervous wait. But look, you're both doing a very, very noble thing in putting your hand up. So thank you. Thank you both. Now that there is a whole list of candidates, new candidates, because like I said, the current councillors have the gift of incumbency. So I wanted to get some new councillors in, or new candidates in. Not new councillors yet, new candidates in, to find out exactly what is behind it and what your views are and how you can make a difference. So well done.
Thanks.
Thank
for
you both.
having us
Thanks for having me. Yeah, that's great.
Is there any other pitch you want to give me last of all, or any other events that you want to tell us about? Go, Carli, go.
So the Merbeen Development Association is holding their first ever community day in Merbeen on Saturday, the 5th of October from 12 till 4. Don't worry, I was going to email you about this afterwards anyway.
I was just looking at the diary.
Would love to have you there. On Commercial Street, and it is all about celebrating everything that Merbeen has to offer. So we're going to have businesses, community groups, sporting clubs. Fantastic. And we're just really keen to celebrate Merbeen and to showcase Merbeen.
Wow. I love Merbeen. You know this. I've been out there a dozen times in the last few months. But, Merbeen's such a great town. I love it.
It's a beautiful town.
Yeah.
And it's only going to get better.
Yeah, I think actually, because the river at Merbeen is the best kept secret. It's so beautiful.
Absolutely
I've got time tomorrow after work. I might go for a run down there. But it is beautiful. People should get out to Merbeen. Yeah. Do you think... Before we go, and Katie, I'll give you your pitch in a second. But here's another thing that I sometimes find with you've got Mildura, the city itself, and then you've got Redcliffs, you've got Merbeen, you've got other like Nichols Point, you've got all the outlying areas. Do you think sometimes, and we're probably all guilty of this to a point, get a little bit not insular, but we tend to live in our bubble a little bit, particularly since COVID. Do you think that happens?
Totally.
Yeah.
I think we're even seeing it in our own town, Jade. Like even working to put this event together, it has been hard to tap into sporting clubs and community groups because people are operating in silos.
Yeah.
And so that was really one of the ultimate aims of this day, was to actually try and get the communication channels open between all these community groups and sporting clubs so that we can all work together.
Yeah. Yeah, well, all work together. Oh,
I know.
Oh, what a concept.
Revolutionary.
I know, it's so revolutionary, isn't it? Wow, that's amazing. This is what we're saying. I mean, it's common sense, and I know I bang the common sense drum again. And one day it'll be loud enough to get through. Anyway, Katie, have you got anything you want to plug? Have you got any events coming up?
Not really.
We'll hear about it on your Facebook.
We
your
will.
Citygate
I will.
Facebook page.
Citygate Community Group.
Love it.
On there. And, put some thoughts in, put some ideas in. Let's get around it.
And people can send you messages.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
Nice ones, people. Nice ones.
Well, I've only gotten nice ones this time round. So, I'm loving it. I'm feeling a lot more supported this time around. Let's say that.
Great. Are either of you chasing donations for campaign stuff?
Donations are not something that I have a huge focus on this time around.
Yeah.
No. I've got a few. I've been letterboxing heaps.
Yeah.
My shins have been really telling me I've been swooped by a magpie. It was so funny. Trying to run from this magpie being swooped. Anyway.
Which one?
Where was it? Up 16th Street somewhere, 16th and Isabella or something. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they only do that because they feel threatened. So I just walked away.
You know what, Katie? Don't. I got, honestly, on Sunday I was attacked by 2 magpies.
Oh, no.
In the same, I am petrified of them. Thank you. Because not only did it go for me twice, it then sits up on a lamppost and starts sharpening his beak.
Oh, I did that one the other day, and then so the next day I went letterboxing again, and there's things sharpening his beak, and I'm like, no, I'm not taking my eyes off you, pal.
No,
and that one was fine.
Okay, I know this is embarrassing, but it's actually coming to the time of the year where when I take my dog for a walk, I am walking with an umbrella.
Yeah,
because I'm that scared of being swooped that I need the umbrella above my head for protection.
You know what? While I was running the other day out on my slow long run on a Sunday, I ran about 500 metres with a branch in my hand that I picked up off the ground because this thing, even though I was looking at it, it was, after it had sharpened its beak, was coming straight at me. Oh, honestly.
They're terrifying.
And embarrassing. Like I ran, there's parts of the run that's away from people, there's not a soul around. This thing waits until I'm out on the highway.
Yeah.
But they sing so beautifully.
Oh, you know what?
They're so scary.
They do. And you know what? They're great every other time of the year.
Yeah, just not springtime.
September and October?
Yeah.
No. Sorry. No. Anyway, I'm glad you love magpies and you're a Collingwood supporter.
I am.
Right, we have to go. No, thank you both once again. Thanks for coming in for a chat. Really appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Jade.
In the heart of the nation where laughter's the key, Natch has the podcast, join the revelry. Taking the Mickey with positive spin. Country folks unite, let the Nat Chat begin. Nat Chat where the laughter's free. Spinning tales about politics with positivity.